Kevin Clark, Bill Barnwell. Thursday Night Football, Commanders, Eagles. That's a good one. We'll go around the horn on paths to victory. LeBron messing around, getting a third straight triple-double. Only thing that wasn't an NBA Cup game, which he dreamed of playing when he was a kid. And Caitlin Clark golf. Oh my goodness. I'm not standing anywhere near a non-pro teeing off at a pro-am. But like the lethal shooter she is, I understand it now. Send her the next one. Let's go around the horn. I understand it now. That's how I'm going to take every discussion when I give out the board. I understand it now. Thursday Night Football, a great one, I say again. Washington, Philadelphia, 7-3 versus 7-2. How great? Biggest Washington-Philly game in 3 decades. Dan Gelston, AP writes. That's Randall Cunningham, Seth Joyner, Art Monk, Darryl Green days. Commanders off the narrow loss to Pittsburgh on a short week. Philly, kind of sneaky with that 5-game win streak, dating back to Sirianni and the Fan, that game versus Cleveland. Bill Barnwell, around the horn to you on the team you'd rather be tonight.
It's the Commanders, right? They're playing with house money. Nobody expected them to be 7-3 at this point in the season. The Eagles, this was the exact point last year where things started to go south. Big Dom got kicked off the sideline, and it went spectacularly south. I don't think that's going to happen this year because they have made upgrades on the defense. That has been what's kept them going during this 5-game win streak. At the same time, look at who they've played. Joe Burrow, who is a very good quarterback, but Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, and Cooper Rush. Not exactly the superstars of the NFL quarterback game right now. They have forced 10 turnovers over the last 3 games. They are facing the offense, though, in the Commanders that has turned the ball over just 4 times all season. Incredible for a rookie. So that is the difference. That's where I think this game is going to be decided. Can the Eagles force takeaways from this offense that has been so good at avoiding them all season?
So you'd rather be Washington going into tonight. Kevin Clark, same question to you around the horn.
Bill Barnwell, this is not about expectations. It's about roster talent. That's what this question is about. You know, we have lower expectations in Washington. Pressure is a privilege. This Philadelphia team is further along in their life cycle. That's why tonight, I'd rather be the Eagles. Maybe in 3 years, 2 years, I'd rather have Jaden Daniels and be the Commanders. But for tonight, this matchup, first of all, it's got real game of the year potential, but it favors Philadelphia. A.J. Brown is one of the best man coverage wide receivers in football. Washington is top 10 in running man defense this year. Jaden Daniels, amazing on 10-plus yard air yard throws. Meanwhile, Philadelphia is top 3 in stopping that. So this is a matchup that favors Philadelphia. Right. I'm going with them tonight.
Going heavy into the stats on the back end, but the answer is Philadelphia for Clark. Woody Page, who'd you rather be going into tonight?
Well, I'd rather not be Bill Bad because he's supposed to be the NFL expert. And the first time I've been on the show with him, and that's what you come with, Bill? You're talking about house money? They're going to give all the money back to the house. I'd much rather be the Eagles than the Commanders. What a bad pick that was.
All right.
I'll give you a fun football fact, Mr. NFL expert. A.J. Brown, when he plays, and he is going to play, the team is 6-0. When he plays, they average more than 30 points a game. When he doesn't play, they average less than 20 points a game. So give me the Eagles tonight. We watched the quarterback and the running back last week just tear apart the Cowboys. And you don't think they can do that against the Commanders? And they got still one of the best defenses. They brought in Vic Fangio. People run his defense all over the league. And, oh, yes, absolutely. If that wasn't clear, Tony,
everything was clear. It was clear when you explained stats to Bill Barnwell. You may not know what you were walking into. But first, we go to Clinton Yates. Who'd you rather be tonight?
The reason I'd rather be the Eagles, Tony, is because I think the Eagles are a more advanced form of what the Commanders are trying to be. You look at that backfield in terms of what the quarterback and the running back do in Philadelphia. That's precisely what Washington is trying to get to. And the reason why they couldn't beat the Steelers last week is because they were not there yet. Also, Philly's playing this game at home, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but in a division, that matters in terms of what your advantage is in that game. Now, more largely, though, what's happening with these two teams in terms of their tracks, who Washington is, who Philly is closer to the mark right now, and that's fine. But if Washington wins this game, I don't think it's a huge surprise. It's just an indication that maybe, just maybe, they truly are ahead of the curve in where they want to be, and this isn't just a blip on the radar. And
Okay, so
this is a huge game tonight, in my opinion.
statement game, it seems like, from Yates. Bill Barnwell,
Yes.
after the horn to you.
Yeah, Woody Page said
Why?
the Eagles dominated the Cowboys last week. Why can't they do that to the Commanders? The Commanders are a better team than the Dallas Cowboys. We've seen this entire season of football. I don't think that's anything crazy. Also, their quarterback is probably going to throw for more than 40 yards in this game, which the Cowboys did not do last week.
Okay, Woody is no way frightened by what
Not
Bill
impressed.
Barnwell's cooking up over there. Okay. Never change, Woody. Never change. We've been horned. We'll move on. Our next story, I want to get your take on what Deion Sanders said on FS1 Speak here.
Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said you gonna
I
be
won't do it
dad.
publicly.
You gonna be dad. You gonna be dad.
Oh, Dad, cows come home. Yes, sir. And with Travis as well.
Talking about Travis Hunter and, of course, his son, Shedeur Sanders, and getting involved in the draft process and where they may end up. Kevin, how'd you hear Deion there? And do you think it's within the realm of possibility Deion Sanders can control who drafts Shedeur or Hunter?
He can try. If it was possible to determine your destination, Caleb Williams would not be getting sacked more than any other quarterback in football in Chicago right now. I think maybe it can be tried. You know, Jordan Reed, our colleague, has Shedeur going number 1 to Cleveland and Travis Hunter going number 2 to New England. Cleveland's a really bad place for quarterbacks. So yes, if my son Teddy Clark were about to be drafted as a quarterback to the Cleveland Browns, I would move heaven and earth to make sure he did not go there. However, I think it's a different world than when John Elway did it 40 years ago.
That's
With
what I
Eli
wanted.
Manning was a
Okay.
different situation because, frankly, Phillip Rivers was in that draft, Ben Roethlisberger was in that draft. There were other options. I don't know how this is going to shake out. I understand the need to try. Geography is destiny for quarterbacks. I understand the need to try to control the process. I just don't know if a team is going to listen to Deion Sanders in that spot.
Woody Page, do you believe it's within the realm of possibility Deion could affect who drafts Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter?
Absolutely. Kevin's forgotten. We live in a brave new world now, and the athletes have a lot more power, and even their fathers. And you brought up John Elway and Eli Manning, and their fathers were really responsible for them not ending up in the places they were drafted by, Baltimore and San Diego. And I see it happening. And it wouldn't be a first for Deion. He actually kind of controlled where he played when he was a player in the NFL. He went to one franchise and they said, we want you to take one of these mental tests. And he went, I'm out of here. I'm not taking your test. I took them in college. And so I don't think there's a realm of possibility that he won't do it because he has maintained. This isn't the first time he said that. He told us this months ago. He said, I don't want him to play in certain places. He wants warm weather or Dome Stadium. He wants a team that's got a winner, and he wants a quarterback coach that can work with his son like he has been. So, yes, it's going to happen. So you better, if you are a team like, say, the New York Jets, you better just back off because you're not
Well,
going to
that's like a quarter of the league right now. You might rule out. Does he want a toilet made of gold as well? Clinton Yates, around the horn to you.
That story is actually better than what he tells it. What happened was Deion was forced to take a test, and when he asked when the team was picking, he said, I'll be gone before then, and just walked out of the room, which is hilarious. Anyway, I think what Deion is doing is, in fact, tremendous when we look at what the day of the games are in terms of where we are in general. The NWSL doesn't even have a draft anymore. The idea of player control over this kind of thing is very concerning in terms of like where we think we're going to be overall with football, and Deion knows that. And if you're going to be the kind of team that takes a player that doesn't want to be there and you've got to deal with that guy, that is already not a smart move because of the groundwork that he's laid. I think this is, in fact, genius by Prime because it's not necessarily trying to game the system. He's just saying, hey, y'all don't know what you're doing. I do. I don't want to be a part of it. I tell you all the time, quarterback is the worst coach position in the league. Deion's not going to walk right into a situation in which that is obvious and put his kid in a bad circumstance. This makes all the sense.
Clinton, there is going to be an NFL draft this year. They're not ruling out the draft in the next whatever. You know, it's going to happen for Sanders and for Hunter.
I think what I'm saying is that the idea in general of, yo, you can determine where you want to go if you've got any kind of social leverage or skill leverage is not that crazy. There was a time when that was looked at as completely insubordinate, completely ridiculous. We are so far beyond that I think that teams are going to understand that in terms of what they're bringing as a product of team standards, if you will, with all two of those guys, as in Hunter
And Bill Barnwell, your view of it?
Yeah, this is the Haley's Comet of football, right? Every 21 years, a quarterback has his dad say, I don't think you're going to play there. John Elway in 83, Eli in 2004, Shitter Sanders probably in 2025. We're going to have like Bronze Mahomes in 2046, not going to whatever. The Jets probably are not going to be a team that treats their quarterbacks well at that point. What's interesting about this to me, though, is the Travis Hunter conversation, because we've seen teams with quarterbacks who have wanted to go to a different place where they've been steered to a different location. We have not seen that for wide receivers or cornerbacks. To Clinton's point, we don't think that way about how wide receivers are coached or cornerbacks are coached. No one ever said Andre Johnson should have asked for a trade because he was going to be stuck with bad quarterbacks for the next decade. And so with Travis Hunter, I want to see what does that mean from Deion Sanders' perspective. Does he want to lead him to a team that has a great quarterback? Does he want to lead him to a team where he's going to be allowed to play both ways? I think that's the more interesting discussion here because it is more unprecedented relative to what we've seen from draft players in
Kevin
history.
Clark, last word.
Yeah, the Travis Hunter thing to me is just as important because a team is going to need a plan, a snap count. How are you going to use them? The scheme stuff, that is as important as where Shedeur goes. Travis Hunter needs to be treated like an absolute unicorn, and only a couple teams are capable of doing that.
I mean, we've seen wide receivers affect change after they were drafted to where they're going, but maybe not. Although there was some Matt Schaub erasure, by the way, for the Andre Johnson there, Barnwell. Hey, real quick, Teddy Clark. The rising 2-year-old almost, the Teddy Clark. Tell everybody what he calls the game of football right now.
He calls it hut-hut, which I think makes him
I love that.
Qualified to coach about 20 NFL
Well,
teams.
then more from hut-hut in by herself.
Yeah. She called it Omaha.
Lakers 128, Grizzlies 123 in a fun yet non-NBA Cup game. LeBron, third straight triple-double. Think about how absurd that sentence is at 39 years of age. 3 straight triple-doubles. 4 on the season, 35 points. Lakers get to 7-4. On the sustainability of that play from LeBron and what we're seeing with the J.J. Redick molded Lakers around the horn to Los Angeles, Clinton Yates.
I'm buying this because this is the best part of the experience right now if you're a Lakers fan. Yes, JJ has that team motivated. Yes, they look like they know what they're doing. But if Anthony Davis can't stay on the court, whether it's an ankle or an eye or whatever it may be, LeBron having tremendous performances night in and night out, we are watching greatness. Do not take it for granted, even if the ceiling on this team isn't super high beyond just, say, the NBA Cup.
So you appreciate the showtime of it, but about J.J. Redick getting players to play. We did a story a week ago in a loss to Memphis, calling out the guys who were non-LeBron. How did you see it last night, Clinton?
I loved it. I think J.J. Redick has brought accountability back to this team by stating we know what the standard is. It doesn't necessarily have to be winning everything every night, but you better play like you belong there, and that's been the case.
Woody Page, what to buy or sell with the Lakers?
I'm buying LeBron being the second best valuable player in the league right now, and Anthony Davis has been listed at the top of the MVP players. It's Joker, and then it's LeBron. LeBron is
never too early for some MVP from our MVP. Yes,
9 rebounds. I just think he's playing well, and he's doing it in 35 minutes. It's not that they're forcing him to play 40 minutes.
Kevin Clark, around the horn to you. What to buy, what to sell with the Lakers?
First of all, I'm buying those Vancouver-era jerseys. Those are beautiful. But I don't know. I'm going to withhold judgment on the Lakers, I think. They have an identity. They've won all 6 of their home games. They're 1-4 on the road. They've won every single game when they score over 115 points. But we know what they are. James and Anthony Davis either assisted or scored 30 of the 37 fourth quarter points. We kind of know what they are. I'm not ready to make any broad conclusions against the Grizzlies team in those beautiful jerseys without Ja Morant.
And Bill Barnwell.
Yeah, JJ Redick has sort of shifted things just a tiny bit. We didn't really see it last night, but we've seen it over the course of this season, which is he's made Anthony Davis the focal point of this offense for stretches. LeBron's running the lowest usage rate he's ever had as a pro, but he's averaging the second most assists per game he's had in any season as a pro. Anthony Davis was not great last night because of the foul trouble, but he's averaging 30 and 11 so far this year. I think JJ Redick's biggest improvement so far has been being able to convince LeBron you can maybe take some nights where you're not going to be the focal point for 35 minutes.
Which is interesting. So that would be a note in that usage rate for sustainability, maybe, even though as crazy as that sounds, a 39-year-old can sustain a triple-double pace like this, but play like this. We'll move on. Buy or sell, too. Hut. Football. Look ahead to Sunday, Ravens-Steelers. Oh, yeah. First place in the division. Pittsburgh, first divisional game of the year. A stat on Lamar. 1-3 in his career versus Pittsburgh. That he's only started 4 games versus Pittsburgh is shocking, but 1-3. Lamar hinted he couldn't explain it when he said, I can't explain it. Kevin Clark, do you expect this version of Lamar to struggle on Sunday in Pittsburgh?
No, I don't. I can explain it. This is a different version of Lamar. In the 4 previous games, he's had 7 interceptions. Well, guess what? Even though the Steelers' defense is really good, the Ravens have not thrown an interception or had a turnover in 3 straight games. That's one of the highest marks of their franchise history. So for me, this comes down to just a couple of plays. I'm favoring the Steelers here, but it has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson. He's going to play really, really well. George Pickens is the best deep ball receiver in football. The Ravens are giving up explosives at an alarming rate. Russell Wilson can throw these moon balls. He connects on enough to squeak this one out. The last 8 meetings between these 2 teams have been a 1-score game. It's going to happen again. Steelers squeak it out.
Bill Barnwell?
Yeah, Steelers done a great job of keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket. He has his design runs. He's going to get those yards, but they do a really good job with their rush discipline. They don't get out of whack, don't create opportunities for Lamar to run. And in years past, he was 11th in the NFL in throws from out of the pocket in QBR. This year, he is number 1. 15-2 touchdown to interception ratio inside the pocket. And the other difference is that in years past, it was on Lamar. Now there's a guy named Derrick Henry who's off to one of the best rushing seasons we've ever seen so far through 9 games. Derrick Henry is going to take a lot of the load off of Lamar in this game as well.
Clinton Yates?
The thing I like about Mike Tomlin is that he's really good at making sure that your best player doesn't beat them with what he does best, and I think this is another one of those cases. His record against Harbaugh alone is 20-15, which is a ton of games to have coached against one guy, but I think overall that's what we're looking at here. Tomlin knows how to make sure to fill those gaps so they can't do everything. They did it last week against the Commanders, and they won the
So you
game.
put some stock into this 1-3 record that Jackson has had versus Pittsburgh. What do you pay? How about you?
100%. I think it has to do with it, yeah.
It's too small a sampling. He didn't play when he came in the league against them. He was inactive in another game, 4 games. But if you want to look at one example, 7 interceptions in those games he's played. So not only are they doing a good job against his passing, but they've limited him to him about 60 yards a game, which is much for a quarterback, but not much for him. So I think that's been the difference and I don't expect that to continue in this game. I think he breaks loose.
Kevin Clark, earlier in the show, you called Washington, Philadelphia the game of the week, but then now you have Pittsburgh squeaking through against Baltimore, which is another game of the week, and we haven't even got to Kansas City versus Buffalo yet on schedule. Another game of the week. Yo. We'll say that is the final word here. Clinton Yates, Bill Barnwell. Showdown next.
Around the Horn is presented by Crown Royal. Follow the Crown Royal rig all season long and kick off with Crown. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Yates, Barnwell, good luck in Showdown. Big number, ball night last night. 59 for Antetokounmpo. 50 for Wembanyama. Giannis outscored Pistons in his own in overtime. Victor had 8 threes. Whose night was bigger, Clinton?
It's got to be Wemby. He's a bigger human. He's got a bigger ceiling at this point. This guy's going to start draining threes with regularity on teams. What else can't this man do? Incroyable.
No, I'm going to say Giannis because of the one thing he can't do, which is shoot free throws. He was 16 of 17 last night. If he can add that to his game, it is the one thing that a superstar is missing.
So you were excited by free throws from Giannis instead of 3-pointers from a 7'4" 2 points. Yates, we'll move on. Caitlin Clark Golf. Look at the crowds at the Pro-Am for the LPGA event she's doing. Of course, there were those first swing jitters, by the way, and I showed you the breakfast ball. Lethal shooter, I understand it now, was able to center the next one. How close are you following Caitlin Clark? Literally, how close would you stand in a gallery at a Pro-Am, Bill?
If there's anyone you trust to shoot straight, shouldn't it be the best shooter in basketball? I'm very comfortable. I'm willing to take that risk.
Lynn Yates.
Look, the best thing about this is the self-awareness for Clark. Immediately goes to the pocket to get the next ball, because that's happened 100 times before, shanking it off the tee. She knows what she's doing on the golf course. Just got a little nervous.
Her swing is great.
Volume
It's
shooter.
great, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, when you get out there in those Pro-Ams, no, woo, man, I would not be standing close to anybody that's not a pro. Clinton Yates, FaceTime.
November is Prematurity Awareness Month, designed to bring understanding to what the health risks are for mothers who end up having to have babies before term. Nearly every year, there are 380,000 children that are born before the 9-month period, and I know this well because this week, my son was born, and his mother and he are doing well thanks to the good people at UCLA Medical Center in Santa Monica. Thank you all so much for making sure that everybody made it through. Keanu Jedi Yates, welcome to the galaxy, young man. I hope to take you on all the adventures you want, and may the force be with you.
I love everything about this. Let me just say this, having a similar experience with our Enzo and our Amadeo. Clinton, you've got this. But most importantly, Keanu's got this. Look at that man. Welcome to the world, Keanu.